and introduce you, and we can get into it.
Sure.
Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to Talk Community. Today we have an AMA with Pokelon here to speak about the project. It's Pokelon Master. So Pokelon, let's go into it. It was launched May 2021. It's been a huge success on the BSC. For new investors, maybe we can just go into a bit of the background of Pokelon, how it was created, what's happened for the first 9 months plus, is it?
Yeah, we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary here, which is crazy to think about. I definitely would have never anticipated it to be what it's become. But yeah, so a little bit of background on the team. It was co-founded by myself and Mew, who does all of the design work for the project. We essentially just started it based on kind of a couple of jokes about, a lot of the trends that were happening at the time, which obviously were, a lot of Elon Musk type coins, as well as Pokemon coins. Felt like a pretty natural marriage between the two. We thought it was hilarious. We decided to just roll with it. And then kind of very quickly after started discussing about, hey, what would happen if we took this to the ultimate extreme and actually remade every single Pokemon as one of these characters. And the way that Pokelon work are essentially each one of them that we make are a parody of trends that are happening both, on the internet as well as in crypto. So there's a lot of commentary in each one of them, and the artwork is amazing with Mew. And since that time, we've grown our team. We brought on Neil, who has done a tremendous job with marketing, as well as a few other auxiliary team members who are helping move the whole thing along. And yeah, we've been through a lot of ups and downs. The project is largely based on the NFTs themselves. We do have a token. So essentially by getting on the token, you then have access to these NFTs. The thing about these that kind of keeps us separate is that all of our NFTs can be used in battle. So you can actually use these to battle against other people who have NFTs. You can also evolve the NFTs as well. So you may start with a base level Pokelon, and then you can use your tokens to farm items to evolve them so that they can become stronger. And a lot of that is actually kind of cycling towards the relaunch that we have planned for on March 3rd.
Yeah, that's the staking Pokelon at your farm. How does that work for investors?
Yeah, so if you have the tokens, essentially you can just go to the farm and, to really simplify it, you basically put them into the farm, which is almost like locking them. However, you can remove them at any time. There's no fee or anything like that. And let's say you have 100 tokens. Within 24 hours, you'll have 100 points. You can then take those points and exchange them for NFTs. So essentially, you can use your tokens to earn points to get NFTs and then, of course, evolve them.
And is that separate to the liquidity farming as well?
That's right. So one of the big things that are happening with this relaunch on March 3rd is a ton of new features that we have here. It's almost crazy, the amount that we have. So I'll touch on them, but to give a list, we've got liquidity farming, we've got traditional staking, we've got NFT farming, we've got a full, what we call it, the Elon Dex, which allows you to view all of the NFTs that you have. We have a native farm, and then we're also going to have a NFT marketplace. But all of the other items that I just listed will be available at launch. The NFT marketplace is the only one that'll happen maybe a week or two later. And then finally, we also have a minting game. So as I mentioned before, you can get these NFTs through the farm, but we also do daily giveaways. So we offer them in both one format where you can just be there. If you hold tokens, you can show up to these giveaways every day and you can start to earn rare ones. Which kind of keeps our chat really crazy 24/7. And then additionally, you can also get them through this minting game that we've had where you essentially throw a ball to catch a Pokelon. And I don't have the minting price on hand at the moment, but basically you pay a small fee and then you're able to get and mint Pokelon on demand as well. So all of those features are all dropping on launch day. We've spent some time developing them over the last month or two.
Got a Pokelon League as well where you do tournaments.
Yes, we do. So that's kind of a crazy feature that we have. We actually have that, I believe it's here in the chat, which is it's a game that basically allows anyone who, say, has NFTs to link to the game itself, and then you can battle anyone anywhere on Telegram. So it's actually a completely unique invention, which is such an odd thing to say in this space where I feel like, everyone is just basically copying another thing. But we've actually somehow managed to create something completely unique here where you can link your NFTs to this bot that you bring into any chat anywhere on Telegram, and then you can battle someone else who has them. And it actually has a surprising amount of strategy. Because bearing in mind, there are 151 unique NFTs and 300 unique moves that basically take into account things like poison and paralysis and all kinds of other status effects. It's like a full-blown RPG battler. And so Pokelon League is the name of it. And then also starting in about a week after launch, we're going to start holding tournaments with prizes up to $10,000 for anyone who wins the tournaments.
So there's 151 NFTs. Is there just one of each, or is there 10, 100 in each of the series?
So it depends on the rarity level of each. They're broken into 3 types of rarity. So obviously there's common, uncommon, and rare. And then there's technically another realm of it, which is holographic. So it kind of takes after the traditional cards that a lot of people who grew up with those cards would be familiar with. But basically commons have anywhere, depending on the edition of the cards as well. And I'm aware that this gets a little bit complicated, but we just have a lot of cards here at this point. But common, say, we'll have like 100 cards. And then you'd see uncommon, something like 50, rare would be 20. And that would be in the first edition. So you see that kind of thing happen where the rarity of the card itself is how common they become. We're already on our second edition because all of the first edition have already been claimed, won, purchased, sold. The second edition is kind of a different thing where I'd say we're about 50% through. So we anticipate that pretty much all cards will be gone probably about 2 months after launch here.
And are you looking to do the NFTs cross-chain, multi-chain in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we part of the original part of this launch was that we wanted to rebrand and actually go into ETH. A lot of the reason was we actually kind of think of our project as being a little bit better fit for something like ETH, primarily because of the way that, you guys know better than anybody. A lot of BSC projects are just trash, and there's not really a whole lot of staying power. There's not a lot of community members that stay. Ours kind of does mirror a traditional ETH project. So we wanted to kind of go into that realm, but decided that, hey, let's just rebrand originally under the Pokelon umbrella. Our token was named Elon Balls at the time, which was another creation of another period of time of crypto, which was the crash back in May, I think, of last year. No, it would have been early. Yeah, I think late May.
Around about May,
early
June.
summer. Yeah. And essentially that killed so many projects. And then, of course, a new trend began of sort of anti-Elon Musk coins. Which put us in a weird position. Although I will say, I wouldn't say that our project is either. I think Elon Musk is an interesting person. I think that's about the most I would give him. So ours is not some sort of standing for Elon Musk project, nor hating. We do like to kind of poke fun. So yeah, we launched as that and then decided, let's bring it back under the more identifiable umbrella for this relaunch. And that's what we're looking at for March 3rd.
exciting things coming up around Elon. There's the Elon Goat. We had an AMA with them, and they're delivering a statue, 30-foot statue to Elon, hoping it'll take it in the summer this year. So that might really give a big boost to the Elon projects out there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we actually have even some direct connections through our team to Elon Musk. We have not made any action through that just because, I don't know, I imagine, not that I have a ton of sympathy for a billionaire, but I don't know that he necessarily needs to be constantly bombarded by meme projects. However, you know, we have thought about the idea of getting a card in this guy's hands, which actually is a pretty good segue to another thing that we're going to have available in 2 weeks. We also launched, when we launched a year ago, with physical NFTs, which we're now bringing back. So these are actual holographic physical cards with a QR code on the back that when you scan it corresponds to the actual NFT that you own on OpenSea. So we're going to be bringing those back. They're like limited, of course, and we'll be usually using them solely for giveaways. So a couple of people actually have them from that launch back in May. And to be honest, they're better looking than they have any right to be. We really lucked out with our producer for that. So definitely looking to bring those back. And, you know, again, just kind of provide an extra layer of utility and kind of interest, I think.
How can investors get hold of the holographic NFTs? Sound really cool.
Yeah, so with those, for the physical ones in particular, we're probably just going to be giving them away. They become, in my experience here and running this for a year, when NFTs, especially in-demand ones, come into play, it becomes very difficult to properly manage a community if you're not doing something that's almost just randomly generated giveaways. You know, immediately people start to assume that there's some kind of meritocracy. So yeah, you know, honestly, the physical ones, I think we're probably going to do a giveaway for, and we hold those every single day in the community anyway. So for anyone who jumps into the project, you'll probably have your first opportunity to snag a physical NFT probably within the first week of our launch.
And in the future, you've got Pokelon Arena coming, which will be a graphical version of the card game. You can bet on live duels. I'm wondering at the timeline for that for investors.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're looking, that's pretty much, you know, we're in this weird position where now we're a project that's almost a year old. And we're about to have this relaunch. So, you know, awesome opportunity for anyone who's looking to hop into a project where you're, you know, investing in trusted devs and also experienced ones. But we're in this weird, you know, position right now where a lot of projects, you know, I invest as well. You tend to get into them and you look at this roadmap and there's all these things, and it really is kind of a crapshoot whether any of this will actually happen. With us, it's kind of weird in that we've already done it. I mean, we have like our feature list is so long that we literally have had to remove items from the feature list just because it's too confusing for new people. So we basically have made this final stretch here to be just based on Pokelon Arena, which is going to be the graphical version of the game. So obviously, you know, a lot of people, I personally think that the Telegram game itself is really cool. And the reason I think that is probably because of my age. You know, I kind of grew up with games like that where you would go to, you know, MUDs and things like that, where you'd go to those games and there's a text-based thing. But of course, a lot of people today definitely want to see some kind of graphical element, a little bit more than the card game that we have right now offers. Totally understandable. And so what we're aiming at with that, we've already got a development team set up, an auxiliary one outside of our own to assist us with that project. The way that it'll work is essentially be operating fully off of our DApp. You'll be able to hop in and play a graphical version of the card game against any other player, as well as place bets. So our entire tournament system will move over to that when that launches. We're looking at about maybe 2 months of development time, though possibly sooner. Right now, the devs that we have brought on actually are investigating and kind of going through the code of the existing game that we've made. So the good news is usually with a lot of projects, when they promise a game, and this is just more or less a piece of advice to the community here, if they promise a game, I would definitely say take a look at their background and maybe take it with a grain of salt, because game development is not cheap and it's not easy, and very few people are cut out to do it. We are actually in a unique position in that we've already developed a lot of the core mechanics of the game. So in this case, they'll essentially be taking a lot of that logic and just putting a skin on it. You know, and then also probably improving it in some places as well, making it work a little bit better with a graphical interface. But yeah, we're looking at about, to bring it back to your initial question, probably about 2 months of development time starting from the day of launch. You know, I'd still like to give a little wiggle room. It's always possible that we might end up with like 3 months. But I would say by 2 months at a bare minimum, we'll have the beta version going, yeah.
Awesome. And for investors that don't know how to get the card game works, could we go into some details on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so the card game itself depends on what your level of experience is. I'm going to explain it here in a way as if you have never seen anything remotely like it. However, if you've played the actual Pokemon card game, it is basically that. If you've played Magic the Gathering, it is basically that. It's a collectible card game. But basically, as long as you have 6 Pokelon, you can then battle against another player. Each one of these has a different elemental background, so fire, water, electric, etc. Those can then kind of battle against one another. So you can choose one, deploy it to the battlefield. Your opponent does the same, and you can kind of go back and forth with each other, essentially battling that person using strategies such as, like, for example, we have potions available as well. So let's say that you deploy a card, it has 50 HP. Your opponent does as well. They attack you for 20 HP. You now have 30. You can use a potion, but we've only got 3 of those available per game. So you have to kind of use them wisely. For example, some cards can do different effects as well. For example, there's one of them in particular that duplicates everything that their opponent just did. So there's a great deal of kind of strategy and being adaptable and being able to figure out how to beat the opponent without you know, running into any issues that you might encounter just through their level of experience and your own. And I know this also because, you know, we've been doing a lot of testing on it for months, and you know, the tides can turn relatively quickly in this game. It's built so that it's about 90% strategy and maybe 10% luck. So there's still some pretty wild elements that can happen, and definitely excited to see what's going to be happening in these tournaments.
Yeah, let's go over the tournaments in the Pokelon League. So investors will play so many games, and the top 3 would get rewards or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It'll work like brackets. So anyone who joins in will essentially be able to, you know, sign up to be part of the tournament itself, and then what happens from there is they will be assigned an individual duel. Obviously, our team will sort of ref those, or more or less just watch to ensure that everything is kosher from the beginning and then the end. And then depending on how they break out to those brackets, it'll come down inevitably to a 1v1 of the winner of all of the other brackets. So we're going to be giving away prizes to the top 3. Top 2 will receive some rare NFTs. The number 1 prize will be a sliding scale that we have of cash prizes. So we're actually planning on having one that will go up as high as $15,000 as the prize, which will probably be about 3 weeks to a month after launch. We want to give everyone a little bit of time to get used to the rules, get their cards up, kind of figure out some strategy. But theoretically, you could join the project next next Thursday at launch with no cards and probably trade your way to a winning deck. So strategy has a lot to do with it. There's really, we've really worked hard to balance the cards themselves so that there are no real, cards that can automatically kill any other card or anything like that.
Awesome. And with the graphical version, are you looking to go web-based first and then go to iOS and Android in the future?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the game plan for right now. As far as like how, we port that to iOS and Android, I'm not sure. I do know that the team that we brought on is experienced in creating DApp games and then also, kind of transferring those over. So, that's something that they're going to be able to do for us. But that's something that we've kind of automatically taken as being a given of something we're going to do. I anticipate, given the nature of the game itself, that it's almost certainly going to be doable. As there are a lot of projects out there that have these really ridiculous game ideas and still somehow manage to get them onto mobile. So I would imagine something as simple as a graphical card game is going to be just fine.
Okay, great. And with you being now nearly 11 months now, it's amazing. It's a few years in the real world for Pokelon. I'm wondering if you've been creating any partnerships.
Yeah, there's a couple of different things that we've done. We've actually managed to stay relatively solo. I think that kind of comes from our background of kind of trying to stay true to crypto roots in general, and also just the insanity of the crypto space. I mean, there are places that I've done AMAs at when we first launched a year ago that no longer exist. You know what I mean? So it's like we're outliving a lot of other projects. But I'd say actually the biggest one is definitely Galaxy Heroes Coin. One of our community members is actually the creator of that. He's a beloved member of our community as well. And so it's been awesome to see how huge that project has become. As well as our designer who is doing some design work for them as well. So there is absolutely a partnership in the cards there. I believe we've been doing a little bit of talking about some staking with them and things like that. So some of the details still ironed out, but we're regularly in communication with that team. So we'll probably see a lot of collaboration there in the very near future.
Can we go into maybe the core team background and experience in crypto, apart from the 10 months everyone's been working 24/7?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I know that the designer, Mew, honestly had almost no experience. He's just an amazing graphic designer. Obviously was doing a good deal of trading. That's how I encountered him, just on another project where he had made some stickers for some coin that we were in. And I was like, hey, your work's incredible. We got to talking and immediately clicked. With myself, I just come from a background in Silicon Valley, out of San Francisco. So I've worked on a large number of startups, started, of course, trading in ETH years ago, and then kind of began, working on a couple small projects here and there, being in background of other tokens. And then, to be honest, the very first thing that we launched was Pokelon. So the first real project I've done is that. But yeah, as you said, I've now got, a year of experience running this thing. We've seen, I think we've seen everything that could possibly happen. And then Neil is all over the place here, who is our marketing and R&D guy. I'm not even sure what I'm allowed to say of which he's at, but he runs a call community himself. He has work with Yarlu and a couple of other projects, doing development stuff for them as well as marketing. He's kind of a one-stop shop. So that's sort of the general background of the team itself. And then a lot of our auxiliary members come from a wide variety of backgrounds. Some of them are now working on the NFTs that we do, and kind of managing the change that we made about around fall last year to Polygon, which now has its own problems on OpenSea. But yeah, that's pretty much the main background of the team.
And with the new launch, is the tokenomics changing? How's that going to work for investors? Is there going to be a new audit? Is it a new contract?
Yeah, there's a new contract. What we are doing with the new investors, we do have older investors who are moving and migrating onto the new contract. The good news about that for anyone interested in investing is that while I don't have the numbers on hand, the actual amount of holders receiving an airdrop is very low and probably under 2% of the total supply. It might even be 1%. I don't have the number on hand right now. But yeah, we've kind of built it so that it's sort of a safe transition for people who have been with the project for a long time, as well as creating a completely safe environment for anyone who is new. The new contract is a little bit cleaner than our last one. The last contract was under the hood, essentially a mini Doge clone. So it had sort of a buyback that was going on there, which was useful, although I would say the sort of swap and liquefied features are a little janky with that type of project. I think maybe last summer or so, when that was kind of a trend, everyone was on that. Of course, at the time, we decided that was a great idea. Having run that for, I guess 6 months, I could say that I think the buyback contracts are a little bit more trouble than they're worth. This one is a lot more elegant in that it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. So essentially, for this one in general, there is a percentage that goes directly, is automatically liquefied into BNB and goes into the marketing wallet to keep it a sustainable project. I think that was the best thing that we had about the last contract, was we always were flush with marketing funds. So it never really put us in a bad position. One thing that I find happens to a lot of projects is that they just don't have the marketing funds to continue beyond 6 months or so. But yeah, we're internally super excited about this one. I think that this is probably the most long-term sustainable contract, which is a perfect fit for us because we don't plan on going anywhere.
Yeah, awesome. And what's the marketing plans after launch for Pokelon?
Yeah, so marketing plans after launch, don't know how much of it I can talk about. I do know that, we're going for the traditional, coin market cap, CoinGecko thing. But beyond that, also, we've got right now $65,000 worth of marketing funds just for the launch alone. So in the next 5 days or so, you're really going to see that ramp up. Then from there, we've got a couple of creative things. Neil has a lot of different connections throughout the crypto space in general. So we're probably going to be doing some more partnerships and as well as, of course, more AMAs. Honestly, I feel like you guys might be my favorite to do AMAs with. I've done one with you guys before, and I think that this community is definitely one of the most chill and I think genuine as well. But we'll be doing some more, I think. And then beyond that, our strategy usually for marketing, to give a little bit of a background and some transparency, is usually waves. I think a lot of projects have a tendency to use a shotgun when they need to use a scalpel. And so what we'll be doing primarily is kind of focusing on individual communities. For example, we are both a token but an NFT project, but I think it's sometimes important to be able to target those NFT communities specifically. So again, can't really talk too much about specifics just not yet, because I don't want to kind of blow some of these deals that we're working on. But the short version is that we're working on some deals with a number of different communities to kind of target both NFT fans, game fans, as well as just traditional DeFi investors.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you very much for complimenting the team and the investors here. Yeah, we've been following you, Pokelon, since June last year, I think. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. I know.
it's exciting for our investors because we look for long-term, legit projects, and the success that you've created and the utilities growing each and every day. So yeah, it's really super exciting for our investors to hear Pokelon today, definitely. So I can open it up to the rest of the team if anyone's got any questions for Pokelon Master. Go ahead.
Hey Glenn, yeah, I've been listening and I like the I like that you guys are moving into sort of the deceptively simple but actually really complicated games, because I know there's a lot of fans out there that like to play like Hearthstone, and like you mentioned, there are
Yeah, yeah,
type
yeah.
of sort of, yeah. So I'm wondering, like, are you guys planning on adding, I don't know, some special mechanics into the game, or to somehow differentiate yourself from these other games? I don't know whether it's a PvE aspect for people to just battle against the environment, or people just running around collecting random Pokemon, or anything like that.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. So right now, one of the weirder things that we have going on, which is almost difficult to explain, which is why I didn't really touch on it very much. It's one of those things where I think once you're in the community and you're part of it, it makes a lot more sense. But one feature that we have, as I mentioned, we do have this sort of, minting on demand game. That is actually a game itself. So we've now created a way for you to, of course, you can get NFTs just by farming or get them for completely free for giveaways every day. But if you are, say, trying to, like, let's say you're trying to really boost up your pack, you're getting ready for a tournament, you want to get more cards and maybe a variety of cards, you can do this minting on demand, which is, again, a game in and of itself. It's a little bit like a Pokemon Go, and the ability that you're essentially just throwing a ball to catch one of these things. But then we also have another game, which again ties into the main game, which is under development, which is fishing. So once a day, any member of the community can fish by just essentially sending out a command that says fish. And you have a percentage of likelihood that you can catch water-based Pokelon in our chat every day, every 24 hours it resets, and you can keep doing it. And then additionally, using our farm, you'll be able to get an item which can increase, like, buy different levels of rods and bait that can increase the amount of likelihood that you'll catch something every day. And those can be used specifically in the game. And some of those cards are completely unique to both fishing as well as the catching game. So we've got like this really, complex interconnected web of things that all sort of funnel back into the game here. But yeah, as for general mechanics as well, what we're going to be doing is also introducing a new card type, which are basically almost like items that can be used in game. So obviously right now you can just battle, and there's plenty to do there. But there are certain items that we're going to be making farmable or fishable, and those ones are essentially going to be things that you can use in the game itself to, say, enhance your cards, or basically fuck over your opponent if you want to do that. Lots of things that make it a little bit more complex and more fun to play.
Yeah, I like it. It sounds like you guys are staying true to the old gotta catch 'em all mentality, right?
Yeah,
With the
yeah, of
fishing.
course.
Yeah, it's something unique, instead of running around. Yeah, you can log in once a day, or do your little add some special lures or anything like that. It all kind of ties back into the game, but it's not the same. It's just a little bit different, but sort of the same mechanics. So I think, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
And also, like, do you have any particular strategies to kind of catch some of this older audience that's heavily involved with the Pokemon physical trading cards? Because I know some of those first edition holographic and all those boxes and everything, like they sell for a lot of money, like a lot more money that I'm comfortable, to I don't know, like I would never spend that amount of money, but some of these fans like they see it as collectibles, they see it as a part of history. So what are, I'm guessing, like, what are you doing to kind of catch the eye of these die-hard fans to kind of get them involved in the virtual space and show them like, hey, this is something cool here, like play with our thing too.
Yeah, so no, that's so that's something we're very aware of. I'm kind of with you. I had Pokemon cards as a kid. I'm pretty sure my dad threw them out. Still a little bit sore about that, but I think we're aware of that crazy space that's out there right now where people are collecting cards, physical cards. You've got like Logan Paul wearing like a Charizard around his neck. It's just insanity. And part of our way of kind of getting into that is the physical cards that we've made. So that's why we're bringing them back. They're an awesome promotional element. And I also feel like part of the game plan that we want to do is kind of get them out to the team members of those kind of projects. For example, there's a lot of YouTubers as well as Twitch streamers who focus solely on these physical cards. And I feel like a great introduction of that will be to get a few of them in their hands and kind of explain it. You guys are in this space and you deal with it every day. We're kind of in this weird era right now where we had a huge NFT boom. And now there's like a little like NFT backlash starting. And I'm somewhat empathetic towards it. I mean, listen, there are a lot of garbage NFT projects out there. And part of the reason we made the one that we made and we made it the way that we did is because we think that it can be fun, So that's why we've got this, like, as I mentioned before, this interconnected web here where you can, essentially play a game and interact with this world using NFTs and fish for them and farm them and do all these things where it's not just some weird, super expensive status symbol, although a good number of our cards have become really expensive. But yeah, I think that introducing them with the physical ones, something that's sort of recognizable while also hilarious, because it's like, what is this ridiculous Elon Musk creature that looks identical to the classic cards that they're collecting? I think it'll be really eye-catching. So yeah, we've kind of put together a list of some people who are associated with those streamers. We have some direct contact with some of them. So yeah, the game plan is actually to send over a booster pack. So for anyone who is familiar, or even if you're not familiar, booster packs are also a thing, even with baseball cards. You would go up to the store and you buy them, and it's a pack, with plastic packaging and maybe 10 cards inside. We're actually printing those. So we're going to have those, send them to these influencers, and ideally have them open them up. If they love them, they hate them, it doesn't really matter, because I think it's still a funny and interesting thing to do.
Yeah, it's a very good way of doing it with like you said, like booster packs and all that. And I'm familiar with Logan Paul and his money spent on all these Pokemon cards, and not only that, it's some crazy amount of money going in there. So with your
Yeah.
cards, they're actually just gaining value. It's not just an NFT. It's an NFT that you can play with. It's an NFT that in the future can bring you other advantages of holding. So it just adds a few more layers to the collectible aspect of it, right? So that's the beauty of it. And that's the beauty of DeFi, right? And I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but I'll do it anyway, because a lot of people are talking about different metaverses and all this and that. Are you looking at, I don't know, maybe hosting your game in some of these emerging metaverses, or having your own plots of land where people will all they will do there is just play Pokemon all day longer, or anything like that?
Yeah, so there's a couple. I can reveal a couple of threads of communication that we've had about this internally, and let you know like where we're at with it. I think the metaverse is super interesting. I think it's weird, sort of in the same way that, like, again, I come from a Silicon Valley background, so I'm not even remotely surprised that this is a thing because, you know, for example, think about something like Slack, and it's basically just someone who they basically just repackaged a chat room and somehow managed to resell it to everyone. You know, Zoom is basically Skype. The metaverse, as it's being discussed right now, is basically Second Life, which has already existed. But I think it's interesting, and I'm excited that people are excited about it. Where we are currently, as far as how that may integrate into our project, we've currently got a gallery set up right now, I believe, where you can go and check out some of the cards, essentially in like an art gallery. But as far as integration that I would like to see, yeah, just like you're saying, I'd love to have a, you know, sort of a space where people can play, a space maybe where we can hold these tournaments. I think a lot of that will have to do with integration with the graphical version of the DAP game. So I think the first step is definitely going to be getting this graphical version of the DAP game completed, then moving that into the metaverse. I think we could do it as it is now, but I don't think it would mesh as well. We have, of course, discussed the reality of like, oh man, like what if we just scrapped the whole card game aspect and just make the game one-to-one battles in the metaverse? And I think it's doable, but I like to, you know, listen, we're an honest project. We've been around for like a year. I hate scope creep. I hate projects that try to be more ambitious than they can realistically be. I think we could do it, but I think it would take a really, really long time. And I think if demand was there, yeah, we would move in that direction. But for right now, I don't want to promise something that could take, you know, an eternity to develop with very little return for our investors. But that said, it's something I would love to do as far as just general integration with the DAP.
Yeah, that seems like a fair and very thought out plan, and it's like you said, you guys have been here for 10 years now in real life years, so I think you're pretty on top of the game, and you know exactly in which direction you want to take it, and you probably know best. And yeah, with the experience and everything, I mean, everybody that's been in the space for more than 4 or 5 months, just as an investor and a trader, gets a certain degree of experience where they know what works and what doesn't work. Now, I can only imagine for a project creator being here and involved, like in the back end, that's just more added value to it, right? So it's I'm trusting the process is what I'm trying to say, and I have just one more thing, and then I can pass it back to Glenn on some community questions too. I know there's like a way to level up with experience and all that, but are you guys looking to create, I don't know, some funky breeding mechanics where you can get like 2 different Pokemons and kind of create like a crossbreed or anything like I'm just thinking it would be pretty cool, you know, to have like a it's 100%
something we've talked about. Yeah, that's actually something that we've so I don't want to give it away. Like, there are certain things that are happening right now. Right now, we're in the middle of our 2nd edition. So we've already done a 1st edition of cards when we completed all 151 of those. And now we're in the 2nd edition, and we're also moving outside of the original 151. So we're also just kind of hand-picking, you know, of the original Pokemon that we like, and then kind of Pokelonizing them, to create a word, I guess. And we are doing that, you know, kind of in the way that we started the project. So, you know, there's a lot of things that are happening in the world right now. We have a Pokelon coming out very soon that kind of pokes fun at a certain person behind some of those things. But as far as breeding is concerned, that's something that we've kind of thought about as almost like a Pokelon Infinite kind of thing here, where, you know, where does the project go beyond the scope of remaking these? Well, I think it would be really interesting for people to be able to you know, essentially create unique NFTs. The thing about that is that all of our NFTs are handmade. So like we would need to essentially figure out a way to make these completely unique. That said, yeah, I mean, that's something we talked about maybe 5 months ago, and we still love the idea. I think it's going to be entirely like a figuring out the logistics of it in a way that makes sense. But yeah, we would love to do breeding. We've actually kind of considered it as almost just being complete one-to-one breeding, meaning like if you take one Pokemon and the other, what you get is just a weird mutant like hybrid of the two of them. And that might be the only one that exists. So essentially that gets a little complex because, you know, obviously there are tons of combinations that can occur. But we have been playing around with ways to sort of procedurally generate those. And if we can lock that in, then yeah, I think that'll be something we do here in the future.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Yeah, and I can understand the complexity of it. Like building the game and having this kind of rock paper scissors game mechanics and keeping it balanced is hard enough as it is. Like imagine having all the stats and all the traits and everything just get jumbled up together. And yeah, it can generate some really cool cards, but at the same time it might seem unfair to others that might not get like those best ones. So I trust you guys will find like the perfect way, either with just breeding two of them to create a certain, I don't know, increase one of their stats or anything like that. I think people would be super excited about. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, to jump off one thing you were saying there, one of the things that is like a miracle about our project is the game balance that we achieved. You know, I've been a lifelong game nerd, and again, I've worked in the Bay Area and a lot of tech projects, but the fact that we've managed to balance this game with 300 unique moves and different stats for each card, and that it works, and it actually works really well, again, is like a miracle. We managed to do it almost on our first try. I do, you know, I'll take the compliment that it was maybe a bit of skill on my part as well as the part of the team, but I would actually say a lot of it was luck because again, balancing games is very hard. And one thing to say, you know, again to the community is if you are investing in a project that is a game and they seem overly confident with no background in it whatsoever, definitely be careful because there is a lot more that goes into game development than just having a good idea. The amount of work, I'd say the last 4 months alone, myself and 3 team members have played this game almost daily, working and figuring out the kinks, figuring out things that make sense. And especially because we're trying to create something that people can bet on, right? So it becomes more high stakes. It's not just a game. The rules have to be perfect. Otherwise, you know, I mean, people get mad when they buy the top, right? And sell the bottom. People are going to be super mad when they're playing a game where the rules are supposed to be fair and it doesn't work as it's supposed to. So we had to really, really make sure that this works well. And I'm actually very, very confident that we're in a good place with it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are really on the right track with it, and I like it. And I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that having someone here with a lot of experience, and especially like running something for this long on the BSC, right? And I'll just be like my final thing. I'll pass it to the community. What sort of like one thing that you thought was gonna work great and went poorly, and then something that you didn't think would be as great, and then it performed really well?
Okay, so something that I think that I thought would work great and didn't perform well. I would say some aspects of the game when we launched them, which is, for example, we, you know, bear in mind, I've never in my life, I think this is a safe statement for almost everyone, which is I've never created a collectible card game with 151 unique cards. I've played them, but I'm not like, just to give some extra background here, I'm not like one of those people that have been in like Magic the Gathering tournaments or something, or play Hearthstone or any of that. I've played some Magic back in the day as a kid. I played the Pokemon card game back in the day when I was a kid. But I did not go into it like having a wealth of experience. And so when we created the original cards, myself and you, we created essentially a rule set that we thought would make sense. But as we grew more and more cards, it became clear that they were unbalanced. So we had to essentially rewrite the rules for all of them. So there is some weird stuff that happens where if you own older cards, the cards themselves may say something, and the way they actually perform in the game is a little different. But we're very transparent about that. We essentially view the cards, the NFTs themselves, as the collectible version of the card, the one that you can sell and make money from, and the game-based version of the NFT that you own as being separate things. So it's more like, hey, you own this card? Awesome. Here's what it does in the game. I think if I was able to say start a new project that was also a card game from the very beginning, I would start with the very clarified rule set. The thing that I think maybe didn't work, that's probably the one thing that maybe didn't work as well as we would have thought in the beginning. The thing that has taken off, which is really crazy, is in our chat every day, we have an XP experience point based game that runs 24/7, where by basically just chatting, you earn experience points and then level up. If you manage to get under the leaderboard of being on the highest levels, you can earn some of the rarest NFTs that we give away. So it gets kind of we thought it would just be a fun little thing, but it has turned into a completely wild meta game. People play it every single day. It gets really heated. We've introduced items for that game. So for example, if you own the token, you can stake those and farm items such as poison to essentially use against another person who's playing that level up game and make their levels go down. And it gets real heated and it gets really exciting. And then we reset the levels every 2 weeks. So the person who makes it all the way to the end of the 2 weeks at the highest level earns a really rare card. Often they get more than one. We do that every single day for almost a year now. And I would have never guessed that little goofy feature would turn out into being what it is. But it keeps our chat active. And I think that's one of the reasons we're still alive, is our chat is just constantly bursting. I go out to eat dinner and come home and it's like, 1,800 missed messages. So I think a goofy little feature turned into be one of our, a community loved thing.
Yeah, that sounds very good, and that comes with the liberty that you had for being around for so long. You get to try new things, get to try small or big things, and you get that experience and see what works and what doesn't. So yeah, like with the example that you gave me, that's awesome actually. Like community engagement is one of the driving factors of any project. So you've managed to kind of nail that one down like from the start, which is great. Yeah, I love it. Okay, that was it for me. I can pass it back to Glenn or community members. Yeah, thank you for answering, man.
Thank you.
Great. I can open it up to community investor questions shortly. I've got a few more questions for Pokelon Master. I was wondering if the Pokelon token would maybe bridge over to Solana in the future, because that's a huge gaming blockchain as well.
Yeah, it's something that we've talked about a lot. It's one of these things that I think for the relaunch, we wanted to kind of put ourselves back out into the space, while also bringing along our traditional community members who have been with us for a long time. And we kind of felt like, just as I had mentioned earlier, we were originally talking about, launching on ETH, but we felt that it would be a little bit unfair to the community to sort of be like, hey, here's a new project. Also, you have to deal with these gas fees and all, to switch chain, I think was too much. But now that we're going to be reestablishing on BSC, I think when we start to go cross-chain, that's something I'm interested in. Like Solana's been on our radar for a very long time, and I think it's just been looking for the right opportunity.
And I was wondering, with the starter pack NFTs, with the profits, whereabouts that goes, maybe into marketing, liquidity, or buyback and burns in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So the for the booster packs that we're going to be doing, those will be going right into marketing. Is the game plan for those? We're not even entirely sure how we're going to be distributing them yet. So, but for things that are usually sold like that, anything that we do, like for example, we have a couple of rare NFTs that we're planning on actually auctioning at some point. Whatever the auction fees go from that usually go right back into the project. So in the past, we've done eggs. We'll do a thing where you can buy an egg at a super low price. And then what you get inside is guaranteed to be a rare NFT, but you don't know which one it'll be, and each one of them will be unique. And we did that. I think we did that last maybe in fall, and all of that money went right back into our marketing.
And then I'm wondering how it's going to work for the large community you built there with the relaunches or an airdrop for their tokens.
Yeah, so there is an airdrop. I think I mentioned before, I still don't have the numbers, but in front of me, but I believe it's less than 2% of the supply is going out. The airdrop, a lot of people, by the time that we had made the decision here to relaunch and rebrand, we had already hit our all-time high, I think about 2 months before. So a lot of the people who had been holding for a very long time were out. One awesome thing about our community is actually a lot of people who were there for a long time, sold the top of our all-time high and we're still there and are still here. So they don't even have a token and they're still here. So the actual people who are actually part of the airdrop are significantly less. We're keeping that open, of course. We're also trying to keep things fair. We've set aside a small amount of people who maybe were with the project. One thing I've learned in doing this for a while is people have different styles. There's people like us who are here every single day, and there are other people who set it and forget it. They'll buy a token and then they'll disappear for 4 months. So, obviously we have a verification process to prove that that's true and that their wallet is real. So we're going to set aside a small amount for people who maybe have been offline and didn't know. But the airdrop, we've kind of specifically built it so that it is not impactful to new investors. The main primary takeaway here also is that it's vested, meaning if you receive an airdrop, you receive 25% on the first day, then another 25% in 2 weeks, so on and so forth. So it's not like anyone who is getting an airdrop is getting the full amount to dump it.
Okay, great. And just one more question, and I'll open it up to the community investors. About the pre-sale, is there whitelist spots for investors to win if they come and join the community, and whereabouts is it taking place? What's the soft cap, hard cap, and minimum, maximum contribution?
Yeah, so I don't think we have a minimum, or if we do, it's 0.01. The maximum is 2 BNB. And I believe our soft and hard cap, 400 for soft, 600 for hard cap, I believe. But to go about the pre-sale, if you're interested in getting a whitelist spot, there are 2 different ways to do it. One, we've got a sweep widget that's available. It's on our pin right there on our Telegram if you want to get in there. We're going to be taking 100 people from that. We'll do essentially a random drawing and then posting the results. And then we're also going to be giving away 50 pre-sale whitelist spots to the community in general. So simply by being in the community, you'll have access to that. And that's pretty straightforward as it goes. To clarify, I just got the answer here. Yeah, it is 400 BNB soft cap, 600 hard cap, which is a little bit more than I think our last launch. I'm pretty confident. As I mentioned before, we've got a pretty nice treasure chest for launch marketing. So I think they're going to go pretty fast. I think if you're interested, get in there. Our last one, I think our pre-sale sold in 2 minutes or maybe a minute. And I think your very original token was gone in 15 seconds. So if you're interested, get in there. We're going to be giving away a total of 150 whitelist spots. All of the rest of them are going to be public. And I think it's probably going to be a little bit nuts. But, if you're interested, we went a 34x for our all-time high. And we're looking to double that this time around. So a lot more experience, a lot more marketing funds available. My overall feeling of this one is good.
Yeah, so for investors, you'd have to be fast on the trigger to get in. Maybe it's probably going to be a super fast sale, for Pokelon there.
Yeah, absolutely. But the good news is we're not one thing that I've learned, and I'm sure you guys can also attest to this. If you're investing in something that's legitimate, and I feel confident in saying that we're legitimate, to add an extra level of legitimacy, I actually KYC'd to Pink Sale for our pre-sale. So, they had that information. Our contract is audited. We've been around for a year. It's about as good as it gets in DeFi. But, listen, if you miss a pre-sale and a project is legit, it's still okay to buy early because, again, we're going to be working on this for months and months and months. Our all-time high, I think, for Elon Balls came, maybe like 4 months after. So, it's okay if you get in the first 10 minutes.
Definitely. Some people like to see if they can buy on a dip, or they prefer the whitelist. So, yeah.
Yeah, or look out for a dip, too. That's always good. But I wouldn't worry if you don't make the whitelist to not invest. Just get in. We're going to be here for a long time.
So I'll open it up to investors now. Syed, you had a question for Pokelon Master at Pokelon. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. So you mentioned about this mini game that will be built into the D app that will allow the users to throw a Satoshi ball and one can mint a random NFT on demand. So I want to know that what are the requirements to be able to play this game on D app? I mean, what minimum amount of tokens, native tokens one will need to hold, or there is any fee or ticket to play this game?
Yeah, so there's no minimum amount of tokens. You can just play it. The fee, I don't think we have set just yet, but we're actually setting it so that it's going to be reasonable. If you've done minting with any other NFT projects, you can expect it to be about that. We also will probably be holding sales on it. So it's going to be a situation. The reason we don't have the specific pricing just yet is because I don't want them to be too cheap, but I also do want them to be super affordable. And I also don't want them to sell out instantly. So it's kind of a weird blend of different wants there. But, again, I'm always pushing for the people when it comes for our project. And we'll definitely be setting the fee for playing the game to mint a token or to mint a NFT at something that's affordable for everybody, for sure.
Okay, got it. So on your Medium page, it's also mentioned about zero edition NFT cards, which only the investors in the beginning will be able to get them. So I want to know that how many total zero edition NFT cards are there?
Gosh, I don't know. There's probably less than 20. They were our very, very first cards that we had ever made. And they're very, as you saw on the Medium article, they're pretty easily identifiable, largely because the stats that they have are ridiculous. So it's like, for example, I'm pretty sure one of them has 420 HP, things like that. All of them are much more reasonable now. But yeah, there aren't many of them. Many people who own them have a tendency to still show up in the community. So if you're interested in them, you can get them. They're definitely pretty rare collectibles. They currently aren't playable in game, but will be. And what's important about that is that they won't have those crazy stats that they used to have. So I even personally rarely see them. Once in a while, someone will show up in the community and be like, hey, I have this card. Is it rare? And it turns out to be like the very first NFT we've ever made. So yeah, zero editions are still out there. They're definitely the rarest cards that we have, for sure.
Okay, so in future, they will also be the rarest, or you are planning on launching any other rare cards?
Yes. So that's a great question. Yeah, we actually still regularly do. We have holiday-based cards. So we had a Pokelon for Halloween. We had a Bulbamusk for Christmas. We had Jackie Chancelon for Chinese New Year. We get a little silly with it, and those usually have some very low supply. So, for example, one of them had a supply of just one, as it's the only unique card that exists. We kind of love doing that, so we're going to be regularly pulling those out. I'd expect probably another one around launch.
Okay, amazing, amazing. So I want to know, you mentioned about Telegram game where duels will take place. So I want to know that will your team arrange these duels, or players on by themselves can challenge someone and then duel will start?
So you can. So right now with the Telegram game, you can duel anyone. All you have to do is on Telegram make a private group, just as you would to have a chat with somebody, and then you just invite the bot in, and there you go. And basically that allows you to duel somebody. When it comes to the tournament, we've actually put together separate arenas for them. So those will be moderated by our moderation team. It'll probably be an all hands on deck situation. So I'll probably moderate some of them as well, just to kind of watch the game, see how it goes, see how it turns out. We're also kind of playing around with the idea of putting the final three of the tournament on a Twitch stream as well. So those will be kind of broadcast as they go for anyone who, say, wants to watch but doesn't want to be sitting around in a chat. So it'll be pretty exciting. But yeah, if you just want to play a duel with someone, you can do that today. And if you're unsure how any of it works, just drop into our chat, and we'll be happy to share how all that works.
Okay, great. So you mentioned that in graphical version game, friends or players will be able to bet. So I want to know that in this Telegram game, will player also be able to set a small bet in duels if they want to? And what will be the maximum limit?
Yeah, people do. People already do right now. It's not built in as a feature, largely because I think that it would require a decent system where you could essentially put tokens in escrow, and it gets a little messy, right? We don't want to actually have our name associated with any kind of betting that's going on for games, but I will say that people are already doing it with our current version. When we do launch the DApp, the bet function will be something that's secure and fully built out. But we decided, listen, at this point, people are going to bet anyway. Right now, sometimes people are betting cards, but I have seen people also bet tokens as well on games. So it's just more or less something you can arrange. And of course, if let's say you wanted to start dueling tomorrow and then you got good at it and you wanted to start betting on it, you can always reach out to anyone on our admin team to sort of facilitate any kind of betting and make sure that it's being done safely. But we always make sure that people are being safe in doing this because it's Telegram, it's the Wild West out here. Be careful with who you chat with and make sure that they're legitimate.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to also know that will players be able to create their own tournaments if they want to?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it's something that you can do. Really, the beauty of Pokemon Pokelon League is that it is pretty much in the public hands. So anyone can take it and put it into any chat. You can make your own group of battlers if you want to do that. I know that one of them already exists of some people who are battling with each other. So yeah, you could theoretically have your own tournaments. There's nothing to stop you. Essentially, the bot that we've built that the game is based off of is just sort of a public bot. It can exist in any chat at all. So even if you have, say, a team of investors that you're friends with and you want to show it off, just import the bot into the group and you can start up a game.
Okay, got it. Final question. I'll let others ask as well. So I also want to know that will there be any limit on number of duels one can participate in a day or hours?
No, there's no limit. You can duel. We have our server built up, so I think something like it can take like several thousand requests per second or something like that. It's pretty ridiculous. So I don't anticipate there will be any kind of limit. But yeah, people can run duels simultaneously without any issue.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, and best of luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Syed is a very keen, enthusiastic community member here. He's always asking great questions. That's
yeah,
great.
They were great questions.
And Aisha, you had a question for Pokelon Master. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. I have few questions for Pokelon Master. Okay, my first question, on your Medium page, it's mentioned that in order to evolve second edition cards, there are only two stones types, that are Moon and Mars stone, which can be obtained by farming. I want to know that, will only the second edition Pokelon NFTs can be evolved, sorry.
No, so both of them can be evolved, but there's different processes for them. If you go onto our website, there's a section called Elon Mart. If you get an NFT from the farm, it'll explain that you can evolve it and how to do that. And essentially what you do is you go over to the Elon Mart, you fill out a form and you send your card, and then we can essentially evolve it for you. First or second edition, it doesn't matter. As long as you have the stone required to do it, you can evolve it. One thing to bear in mind is not all Pokelon can evolve, but it does mention that in the description for each NFT as to whether or not it can evolve and what type of stone you need in order to evolve it.
Okay. I also want to know that, will there be any limit on number of Moon and Mars stones one can obtain by farming?
No, there isn't. People have a lot of different styles. For example, I've seen some people say just constantly keep grabbing stones so that they can save them and use them for later. There's no real limit right now. That is maybe one of the only items, Moon and Mars stones, that we offer that are essentially infinite, meaning like, so I know that people have already farmed over 1,000 of each. So there will always be Moon and Mars stones because, again, we've kind of built it that we want people to be able to evolve them. And if we made Moon and Mars stones rare, most people would never get the opportunity to evolve their Pokelon.
Okay, got it. And one more question. On Pokelon Medium page, it's written that for Pokelon League, which will be a Telegram game, players can select 6 base Pokelon NFT cards, and once lineup has been selected, duel can begin. I want to ask that, will there be any other restriction in selecting six base Pokelon? I mean, can player select more than one rare NFT card, or there will be restriction on number of rare and legendary NFT card one can select for a duel among 6 cards? I'm asking this because if one player has more rare NFT cards than others, surely one with rare cards will win the duel.
You would think that, but actually the balance of the game is, I think, our biggest point of pride. Some of the most common cards in the game are some of the strongest. Some rare cards are not as strong. Legendaries are definitely strong, but they're not unbeatable. All of them have flaws in a way that you can beat them. For example, we have members of our team who are very good at the game. I am not one of them, despite the fact that I invented the game. And I actually try to use legendary cards and still get beat. So it's 100% skill-based in this case. If you don't have rare cards, it doesn't mean you can't win. And if you do have rare cards, it does not at all guarantee that you can win. Some rare cards are actually kind of weak and are just for collectible purposes. So it really varies. It's really all about choosing which cards work best for you, and additionally, whether or not those cards will work in context to the battle that you're in.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Thank you so much for
answering. Yeah, thank you for your questions.
And Aisha, you have a question for Pokelon Master. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Hey there.
How you doing?
Doing well. How about you?
Yeah, I must commend you guys for the presentation and for the project. I say the project is really a good project. And my question I would like to ask is, the project is really different. I would like to know how old are your project, and since when have you joined the crypto market, and how long have you been incubating the ideas of this project?
Yeah, so we're coming up on 1 year here in May that the project has been running. Technically, we're already at our 1 year anniversary as we started developing it in March before we launched. So it's been around for a long time. I've been in the crypto space for, God, I think almost 3 years. So yeah, we're coming up on 1 year for the project, and we'll probably have a bunch of really fun events and giveaways as well for the 1 year anniversary. You'll probably hear a lot about it. We'll be making a lot of noise. And I think also for time here, I can probably take one more question if anyone else has anything. I have to jump to another event.
There's no. Let me just, if we can maybe do a recap as people have joined in the middle of the AMA Pokelon Master, that'd be great, over the project and the pre-sale there for our investors.
Yeah, absolutely, Glenn. So for anyone who's just joined, we are Pokelon. We are coming up here on our 1 year anniversary, and we are doing a relaunch on March 3rd on BSC. We have 150 whitelist spots that we are giving away. If you're interested in getting in on the pre-sale, all the rest of the pre-sale spots will be public. Important to note that all you got to do is, if you want to see the game that essentially is our project is built around, in which you can earn NFTs just by holding the token, and then use them to battle and enter tournaments and win as high as $15,000 in cash prizes, head over to our community. And you can do that just by heading over to Project Pokelon here. And that'll be posted in the chat itself as well. Come join us. We're going to be doing a game demo very shortly as well for anyone who's interested in seeing how the game works and checking out the mechanics of that. And to give a little bit about some of the features as well, we're going to be doing a 400 BNB soft cap, 600 BNB hard cap, and minimum contribution of 0.1 BNB, 2 BNB maximum contribution. And as I said before, head over to our community, come take a look. We've got tons of resources for people who are new and excited about figuring out how this project works. Tons of features, probably more than you're going to see on almost any other project out right now. And I'd be happy to come and explain more about it over in my community. And Glenn, once again, thanks for having us. Love coming over here to a Whalecoin talk, and looking forward to joining you guys again in the near future.
Very much for coming, Pokelon Master. Yeah, it's really exciting for me. It reminds me of the pre-sale we had with Micro Pets, which blew up and it was huge. And Pokelon,
yeah, Micro Pets, yeah.
And with your experience, professionalism, honest core team, I can see it's a perfect project for our investors to get involved with on the BSC, because you've got that longevity and future utilities you're building around the project all the time, and it's going to be exciting in 2022 for Pokelon team and community, I think.
I think so. And thanks again so much for having me.
Okay, great. I think we've got to spin the wheel, but I also say, if anyone's listening back to the recording, we can get you safely over to the official Pokelon Telegram. If you've got any questions, you can head over there. Do you have the VC open sometimes in the week, Pokelon Master?
Yeah, we do. And we'll be having it open a lot more often as we get closer to launch.
Thanks very much for coming
today.
Great.